Not really. Test, test. There we go. Thank you, Lord. Test. Jill. She and I never get along. Hello, test. We in? Can am I loud enough? Hello. Hello. Oh, hey. All right. Well, first of all, can you hear me? All right. So. Thank you. First of all, thank you, whoever helped, who all helped with our brunch. I know Marcia Stackhouse, Martha Brackmeyer, Harriet Sloop, Cheryl Ann Miller, and everybody who pitched in to the add food and fruit and everything. So let's give them a thank you. And it is just great us getting together. You are here because how deeply invested and caring and loving you are for this ministry of ours, of yours, of God's. And we have, you appreciate the past we've had, and we know that you're invested in the future as well. This started with a design team in early 2019, pre-pandemic. It was led by Braden McCormick. It also included myself, Doug Evans, Colleen Good, Kirk Linton, Katie McCormick, Mary Seddon, Sally Wicks, Jill Windy, and Doug Zentz. They worked a lot. Of course, they pivoted with other outside advisors, but they distilled it down in what you'll hear in a little bit. And we consider it, we think it's practical, it's doable, and it is absolutely needed. That transitioned then into a capital campaign. I'm chairing it, and I say that. I have been using a very sophisticated managerial tool. You know what that is, right, Sally? It's called Get Out of the Way. Here's the team, the capital campaign team: Stu Barr, Bruce Carter, Diane Evans, Andy McCaskey, Braden McCormick, Cheryl Ann Miller, John Seddon, Marcia Stackhouse, Jeannie Van Putten, and Pastor Sally Wicks. Now you know what I mean about get out of the way. And it has been amazing. All the skill sets and all the energy and all the work and all the team making a real difference in the trajectory of this ministry. So the total capital campaign goal, $1,143,000. All right. We already had some of that through bequests we received over the years from names like Werner, Schultes, Parshall. That added up to $233,800 already on the balance sheet. Our foundation was good to provide a grant, $25,000 a year for 3 years, $75,000. So the $1,143,000 minus that $308,000 I just described gets us down to only $835,000 yet to go. Well, with the advance gifts leader on our team, Bruce Carter, and you were at us nicely. You were always nice, by the way. Thank you. Yeah. 33 donors so far have made pledges, and that adds up to $681,500. Wow is right. So another $153,000 yet to go, and we sure do have momentum. And so we will be asking you all to prayerfully consider jumping on the bandwagon and driving this ministry forward into its future. I don't want to understate what we're doing. This moment right now is a moment in our history. And Sally said something I will not be able to say as eloquently as she did, but we were provided a gift, a blessing, and we're sitting in it. And it's our duty, our responsibility to pass that baton forward so that future generations can support it. And along with the theme of rejoice in the past, Sally, please give us some historical perspective. Thank you. Thank you much.
I'm hoping that I have, oh, look at that. I have a microphone that works now. I can talk with 2 hands. So you all remember that this past summer we've been talking a lot about the great cloud of witnesses that have gone before us. I preached a sermon series about that through the summer, and it comes from that bit in the letter to the Hebrews where the author says, "Since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, who is the pioneer and perfecter of our faith." And what I want to do here in this bit of the morning is to tell you a little bit about the legacy of faith that comes to us in this church. So I want to talk about the great cloud of witnesses that come from this congregation, out of this church. So I actually brought down the history of the Presbyterian Church, the first 150 years, and I set it down somewhere. So it's somewhere in this room. It's written by Mary E. Armstrong, and I took a good look at that as we were getting the capital campaign up and running. And I want to tell you about some of the individuals and some of the congregations that came before us. So I am in awe of Mrs. Samuel Beebe, who almost single-handedly founded this congregation in 1840. So Mrs. Beebe was the wife of Judge Samuel Beebe, who in Mary Armstrong's words had no religious proclivities. And so he was not particularly interested in the religious leanings of his wife. But Mrs. Beebe was a dedicated, committed Presbyterian from the East Coast, and she was committed to the idea that there was going to be a Presbyterian church here in Elkhart, Indiana. So she began with the children, She organized the children's lessons. She wrote the lessons. There were no written lessons at that time. They met oftentimes in her house, and she began to teach the children in the Sunday school. And then she organized the adults and organized them as a congregation in 1840. And then she was the one who sent messages to itinerant preachers in the area and asked them to come and preach for this new congregation so that they could have worship and they could have sermons on Sunday. And she was the one who argued with the Presbytery. I don't know why she had to argue, but they apparently weren't interested in having our church in the Presbytery at the time, and argued with the Presbytery until they accepted our church into the Presbytery. And she did all of this 100 years before women were ordained in the Presbyterian church. And we don't even know her first name. Mrs. Samuel Beebe. Do you know it?
I looked it up in the city, it's the table book that the city put out.
Yeah.
I think, if I read it correctly, it's Rosalie.
Rosalie. Well, there you go.
Check my source.
All right. Thank you. Amazing woman. And when this so they were officially chartered in 1840. By 1844 they were ready to build. And so this is the 1840s, right? So they sent the men out to the woods and they felled the trees, and they brought the trees back in and they let them season for a year, and then they sent them to the sawmill to cut boards. And then a couple of the men took their oxen and a sled down to the river, and they hauled out boulders out of the river, and they brought them to the property that had been deeded to them by Havilah Beardsley. And they set the foundation, and then they built the church on top of it together. They built it together. I understand they used to have a little problem with the local wild pigs who would come in and dig their way underneath the foundation and then sort of scratch their hips on the floorboards below and kind of interrupt worship. They have nothing on our raccoons. That's the word I'm looking for. We have a little trouble with raccoons here every once in a while. So they must have been a really passionate congregation, because by 1864 they were ready to build again. They had outgrown their first church in 20 years, and this time they built in brick. That big brick church was just passionate about their ministry, passionate about children's ministries, and passionate about worship. They had a little choir, but they were particularly passionate about outreach. They had a committee called the Hotel Committee, and on Sunday mornings, the members of the Hotel Committee would go down to the hotels, and they would invite all of the traveling salesmen and anybody who happened to be visiting the community to come to worship at the Presbyterian Church. They also had a jail ministry back in the 1860s, and they went down to the jails and they took the good news of Jesus. They took Bibles and literature and ministered to the people who were in jail. And they told their members that every Sunday they should be looking for somebody who was a non-church goer to invite them to come to the Presbyterian Church. They were passionate about their ministry. So by 1910, they needed to build again, and they built what's called the domed church. Some of you might actually remember the domed church. Did anybody here worship in the domed church or remember the dome? Okay, you see there are a few of you. Excellent. Good. Good. So that church was built, by the way, on what is our present site of our library. And the people in the domed church were equally passionate Presbyterians. They were passionate about children's ministry. They were passionate about worship. Apparently it was a beautiful sanctuary with this dome with beautiful painted things on it. I talked to somebody the other day who was about 7 or 8 when that dome, or when she was worshiping in that dome church. She said there were little cherubim around on the glass windows up on the dome, and she said she used to sit there and watch them, and she was sure that their little wings were flapping during worship. So passionate about worship and music, and works of charity. I was interested as I was reading to learn that they doubled their benevolences during the Depression years. Yeah, because they were passionate about caring for people who were in trouble. In about 50 years, that church was no longer viable. It was a wooden structure. It had electrical problems, and they were worried that it was going to go up in flames. And so they made the very difficult decision to build a new church here at 200 East Beardsley Avenue. And I was just so impressed as I was reading about the building of this church. Sometimes when I first got here, I heard people would say to me, oh, there were people with money who built this church. They're the ones that gave the gifts. That's not the impression that I had as I read Mary Armstrong's account. She said that everybody gave. Everybody had something to give. And there were even people who gave in-kind gifts. There was an old retired painter, and he offered to help the congregants learn how to paint. And then he taught them how to paint properly and then supervised their painting so that large numbers of members of the congregation painted much of the interior of our church. Isn't that something? Yeah. She said that, and I wanted that book so I could quote her, but I'll try and remember it. She said that they each gave each of their own because they knew that they had to give together and to work together if they were going to have their dream of a new church building come true. And so they gave sacrificially, each gave as they were able in order to make this dream come true. So it is in honor of those faithful Presbyterians that have gone before us that we have reached the first part of the name of our campaign, that we rejoice in our past. We honor the people of our past. They gave us such a legacy of faith. Their faith has come down to us, and they gave us the legacy of this beautiful building. And so we honor them and rejoice in this proud past that we have in this Presbyterian church. But the other half of that is that we're reaching for the future. Because having been given this gift, as Bill was saying before, having been given this gift of faith and given this building as a gift in which to worship, we want to pass it on to our children and grandchildren and the next generation that will be in this church. And so we want to pass on what has been given to us, and we want to pass it on in good order. So some of you may remember that when I first got here in 2019, in the 7 months before the pandemic started, I did a lot of visiting in the congregation. I sat down with a lot of you in your homes or in coffee shops and talked to you about the church. And I asked the same question of everybody that I visited. What do you want to see happen in the church? What do you think the most important thing is that we should be doing in the church as we move forward in the future? And I heard the same answer over and over again. That we need to grow, that we need to reach out to new people, and that we need to reach out to families with young children, that we need to give our faith to others and give our church home to others. It was a very generous idea that we would reach out to others. And so I put together a sort of a multifaceted plan, and I presented it to the session, and they were very excited about it. Multifaceted plan for growth, because there is no single silver bullet these days when you're trying to help a church reach out and grow. Nobody's quite got figured out what we need to do these days. So we were going to try several different things at once. So we needed to develop trust among our membership and trust for our leaders. We needed to have two worship services, two wonderful worship services in two different styles at two different times. We needed to build up our financial stability in the church. We needed to develop good tools of communication, like a new website and signage, and you've certainly seen our signs and feather flags out there, and get the word out about who we are. And we needed to develop new ministries for children and youth. So Sunday school and Vacation Bible School and Music and More Club and youth group. We needed to have opportunities for young people. And in spite of the little hiccup we call the pandemic, the 2 years that kind of threw a wrench into everything, we've actually done remarkably well. We have lots of new people, wonderful new people among us, and lots of young people among us, and children and youth, particularly in our programs, and also then beginning to come into our worship services. So, and we've done all of those things. Well, I should say God has done all of those things through us with the gifts that we give to the church regularly every year, part of our sustained annual giving to the church. Makes all of these things happen. One of the pieces that we had not tackled up until this point, that was on that multifaceted plan, was that we needed to do some renovations, particularly in this lower level, because this is just it's a little bit shabby. And there are just lots of things that need repairs and need updating. And originally, I think when we put that in the plan for this renovation, we thought it was going to be just, new carpets and a little paint and maybe some new tables and chairs. And then things happened. The roofs began to leak, and the spotlights in the sanctuary went out. And during the pandemic, we had the window people come by, and they did an assessment of our stained glass windows and said, "Oh, you need repairs up there." And they started pointing out to the broken glass in the windows. And also during the pandemic, we did some testing of our HVAC and discovered there was, don't breathe anyone, there was no ventilation down here. None at all. It's not a very safe place for families and adults to be on a regular basis, in particular with things like coronavirus or flu. And so the HVAC system got added to the list. And things just kept, and we discovered that we had need of a new boiler. I mean, it just kept growing. And so we ended up in a capital campaign. Now, I know some people will tell you that, just renovating your building isn't going to make your church grow. And that's true if that's all you're doing. That's not all we're doing. We're doing a multifaceted approach, and renovating buildings is part of that. I want to tell you, buildings matter. They matter. Well-kept, clean, inviting buildings say to our people when they come in, and to new people who come among us, that we are a vibrant, thriving congregation. They say that there are good things happening here and that this is a good place to be. Newly renovated and repaired and refurbished buildings say to our people when they are here that this is a warm and welcoming place for our people to gather. And it says to new people who come in, this is a warm, welcoming place for you to be. So I hope that you will join me in supporting the Rejoice in Our Past, the Reach for Our Future campaign. We've been given a tremendous gift, and we want to give it again to others. Bruce, come on up and tell us the details.
I will. Before I approach, let's see. This is on? Okay, great. Before I approach the details, I want to pass out a few thank yous of my own. I was the leadership campaign director under Bill Burton, okay? And I'm going to tell you, Bill's leadership is not just one of getting out of the way. Bill provides an active framework for getting a project like this done. We kicked this thing off in June, and we're already at $681,000 today. More to come in that leadership group, as well as the congregational expenses or contributions we'll see. So thank you, Bill. I want to thank Sally. Sally, I've worked with Sally for almost a decade now, I think. It seems like it. And I'll tell you, I've watched Sally in her leadership skills and how she leads this church, and she is excellent at what she does. And the background she brings to this church in terms of guidance from her past experiences translates directly what we're doing today. So thank you for your gifts, and thank you for your leadership. This is wonderful. Now, I also want to thank my stewards that worked on the capital campaign for the leadership group. Stu Barb is over there, Bill Burton, Ron Kensinger, John Seddon, Braden McCormick, Cheryl Ann Miller, and Dick Whitcraft. They did an outstanding job as our stewards, and they were very, very good. Yeah. I need to mention something else about Stu. Stu provided more guidance to me than he really thought he did, okay? Most of the time, Stu just gives you, a nice little subtle nudge by voice. But I learned how to read Stu in a meeting, okay? And that is huge, because now if you look at Stu and you see the mustache, okay? Okay, all right. Now, if the mustache tips go up ever so little, okay, like maybe a quarter of an inch or so, that's a good sign, okay? Now, if they happen to dip down, yeah, there you go. You got it. That's a subtle little touch, and I use that so much during the meetings, because I've never had Stu on one of my committees or work with Stu on a committee, so you had to learn that first. And so thank you, Stu, for your verbal and nonverbal communication and your guidance. Also, you did a wonderful job as a steward, so thank you very much. So let's now go through the project. So I'm going to use this sheet right here. You have it in front of you. And I'm going to go through the uses of expenses. I have a couple extra here. There you go. I forgot the table I was sitting at. There you go. There you go. Good. The uses of funds is what I'll be covering in the beginning. And I'm going to go over the project. As I go over the project, you can follow through the list and see the associated expense. So I'm not necessarily going to refer to the list, just follow through as I'm going through. Obviously, the first thing in one of the more expensive projects is the new roof at $210,000. The need is there. It's been a decade or so, since we've replaced the roof. We've got saturated insulation below. We've got a leaking roof above. We've got buckets in the sanctuary. So that tells it all. Did I do something?
Got no wires.
What do I have to do? Is it? Oh, okay, good. Ooh. So anyway, that is clear. We've had a lot of damage upstairs, and if you take a look at the hallways, the inside sanctuary area, the area back where Sally sits, it's just peeling off, and we've got to do a lot of repairs there. Sally tells me that as she's sitting back there, when it happens to be raining during a service, she sees the water rushing down the back walls. So clearly that needs to be done. We have upstairs, we also have chancel lights that need to be repaired. The stained glass windows to the right as you walk in, they're cracking, and then many of them need to be replaced, so that's part of the renovation up there. So those are the major components of the upstairs repair. Repair ceilings, walls, water damage, new LED light fixtures in the sanctuary. Those are the chancel lights. Sanctuary stained glass repair and protection of $31,000. Now we move from the sanctuary down into the lower worship area. And we're going to be doing a couple of things as you move down the steps. And I'll just describe them. You can kind of see, and then from that point on, I can point to everything we've got here. As you walk in, the door is going to be repaired, replaced. There will also be a second set of doors that will actually act as an airlock just inside those doors, and that airlock will prevent hot air from leaving and cold air rushing down. Also, as you walk through, and as you walk up the stairs, take a quick look to the right. There's a closet there. That closet is going to be a corridor going into the children's nursery area. So there won't be any need to walk all the way around. Those folks that are coming into the contemporary service can have easy access to the nursery. That'll be good. And then as you walk down the stairs, you're going to see a new chandelier. So that'll be kind of cool. I have no idea what it'll look like, but we'll see a new chandelier, and there'll be signage as you walk down the stairs, and facing, you'll see signage at the bottom of the stairs. Then as you move into here, you're going to see, first of all new laminates, composite floor material. So this carpet will be removed, and the laminate composite material will be placed over this as well as the stage. As far as I know, the stage footprint will be somewhat the same, although the details have yet to be worked out. That's probably information that will be done as they begin to bid this out. But generally, the footprint will remain the same. The area back there where the tech services people are, the guys that make this thing work, that's all going to be removed, and the tech services are going to be moved on the back side of that wall with the window to be able to see out from there. So they'll be on the back side. This opens up this whole area here for new seating. Our goal here is to replace the seating with new seating that offers us more capacity. We're at capacity down here, especially during major events like the Ukrainian Egg Festival or Egg Decorating event. We're just jammed. We have a fire marshal's capacity of 150 in this room. We probably are going to be north of 100, depending on the type of seating that we're going to capture here, but certainly north of 100 people capacity here. So that's our goal, is to make sure we increase capacity. Just on the other side of the exit sign, you will see a pair of double doors in the future. Those double doors will segregate the back area from the worship area. And now we'll talk about the lighting. Now the interesting thing about this lighting down here is we've covered a good portion of it. So the Mitsubishis that you see, the little heat exchangers all around, they're going, because we're going to have a whole new HVAC system, which in and of itself is a very expensive project, but necessary. We have 0 air exchanges per hour in this room. That's very unhealthy. I'm not sure how it got to the point where we ended up not putting an HVAC system in, but we have to have one. We'll have about 6 to 7 exchanges per hour after the system's put in. So the heat exchangers are not needed. That window will be opened up and replaced. There's actually a cover over the top of it. This window here will be opened up and replaced with, as you see here, it's going to be replaced with something called decorative glass. What do they call it? something like that. It's not going to be stained glass. It's going to be kind of a decorative glass that won't have full white coming through. But that will be replaced, that will be replaced, that will replace. All the windows will be replaced as we move along. And then let's talk a little bit about lighting. There's going to be 2 solar tunnels, they call them. They're basically skylights that come down through the backside. I'm interested to see them. I've never seen one yet, but there's going to be 2 of them on the east end of that room right there, and it's going to provide light to the children's work area. Better lighting above, also better sighting. We're going to have the brick removed, cinder block, I should say, removed from these center columns. We cannot get rid of them because they're structural, but behind that is an 8-inch I-beam, and that'll be much easier to sit around and see. So we'll have better visibility in this room also. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some of the decorative things. This is the type of wall covering we're going to be using, and this is, you can just come up and take a look at it later. You can see this is the flooring material here. This is the brick fascia that we're going to be using, and this is going to be what they call recycled wood, textured wood surfaces. The recycled, yeah, the brick will be on this, basically on the back side of the stage, all the way around to, basically all the way around. And so we'll have essentially this brick all the way around the back of the stage and on the buttresses you see on the far side of the room. The textured wood surfaces are going to be on the back side, let's see where, yeah, back side of that wall there up to the point where there's a small little cutback. That's all going to be painted at that point. On the back side, on the area that is now used as the carryout and pass-through for the kitchen, that's going to be the permanent coffee and refreshment area. We'll have none back there because we're using that for the tech center. So that will be where we get refreshments before and after service. Also, that wall there, I believe, yes, is going to be the textured wood wall. All right. Now let's see if I've covered everything that we need to. What's that? Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that. I forgot about those. But that's the remodeling of this area here, okay? So that's the complete remodel, and it will look very, very nice when we're finished. Very, very nice. The opening, adding light, adding capacity, it will serve our church for long in the future. So excited about what's going on there. Yeah. Yes.
Does the ceiling get raised at all?
No, the ceiling does not get raised. We're kind of limited by the tunnels, the traces, as far as I know. And these are drop ceilings. We'll need those also for the new lighting that's going in. Yeah. All right.
It'll be a new drop ceiling right now.
It'll be a new drop ceiling, but not changing the height. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah. No plans for improvements in the restrooms, okay? The restrooms are going to remain as the same, unless we get more money, all right? So if we exceed our goal of $835,000, we've got a wish list going, and I assume your wish list is going to be the new bathroom remodel. Okay, gotcha. It's like, I think we can plan to put that on the list. Okay, so I do have a couple other things I want to talk, Jill and I are working on, by the way. There are two outstanding issues with this building, this area, that we're still working on. We got lots of questions about acoustics with the composite floor, okay? So we're working on, thanks to Al and his knowledge of, where are you, Al? Oh, there we, yeah, anyway. Al, is he here? Al, raise your hand. Oh, there we go. Al raised this issue, and he and I have gotten the name of a fellow that I believe is in Milwaukee. I haven't contacted him yet, but we're hoping that he'll be a low-cost source of information about acoustics, okay? The problem is, as Al pointed out, a lot of these acoustical engineering firms are full-service engineering firms. They want to do everything, and they're very expensive. We just need a consultant to come in and say, are we using the right surfaces? So we're working on that now. Jill and I are working also on hearing assistance both upstairs and below. And so we're coordinated. She's on my committee of two. And we're going to take a crack at making sure we get an upgraded and a modernized system for hearing assistance both upstairs and downstairs. I think you were here last week. Anybody that was here heard the receding hairline comment by Ruth, and that goes for us upstairs. We all need some assistance. I have hearing aids also. So anyway, now the last two items that are on our list are kind of mechanical in nature, but we have planned to, this is all Kirk's fault, by the way, we have planned to replace our boiler system with a more efficient boiler. The payback on that boiler is going to be 7 years. So not only does it reduce our operating cost during those, from that point on, but after 7 years, the capital has paid off the investment in that boiler. We also have a dual pump system for sewage getting pumped out of this building, okay? Only one pump is working at this point. So if we lose the second pump on a Sunday morning, we're in trouble. So I just want to let you know that probably needs to be addressed. And it's not cheap. I think the thing is about it's $22,000, $77,000 for the boiler and $22,000 for the pump. Okay, that's the project. Any questions?
We can do questions maybe. We can hang out after the meeting.
All right, good. Stu and Cheryl, right? Yep. All right, you got it.
Thank you.
Do you want to give Stu the microphone?
I'm more polite. I don't attack my friends. Thank you, Bruce. I think a lot of thank yous are in order because of the work that's been done. It's an incredible job. And first of all, I want to thank the design team that has worked for several years, as we've talked about, to come up with these plans for modernizing the facility down here at the lower level. Hello. Wonderful job that they've done. We've had a consultant that's worked with our committee and provided wise guidance on how to make this happen. It's easy, maybe, to come up with ideas about how to spend people's money, but where's that money going to come from? And so this consultant really worked with our committee as to how to structure the ask, structure the financing to make this happen. And it was interesting. We had a meeting the other day with the consultant, and he had high praise for the way that this committee had gone about with running this campaign and developing the materials and running the ask for getting the initial offerings in place. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Pastor Sally for the guidance and leadership and inspiration that she's given to all of us on the committee, and that's really helped me to understand what we're all about as a church and why we're here. And looking at the history may seem like something that's past and boring, but the inspiration of Mrs. Beebe and the people that made this church what it is today, I think we have to thank them for giving us this legacy and our opportunity now to further that legacy and pass it on to the future. So one of the things I was asked to do is to remind people of why it's important to support this campaign and why I'm interested in supporting it. And my friend John Seddon talks frequently in our men's Bible study about faith. And he talks about a particular passage from James. Is that right, John? And he talks about how faith leads to good works, and good works, I think, also can lead to strengthening our faith. A few years ago, I was disheartened with the future of this church because I saw things kind of going downhill. I saw a lack of energy and a lack of new people coming into the church, and frankly, I thought that this was a dying congregation, as many congregations throughout our country, and even in this presbytery, have reduced to the point where they're a shadow of themselves. But in the last few years, I have seen a resurgence of energy, a resurgence of mission in this congregation, which encourages me to say, this is an investment in the future, investment for the people who will come after us. And so that's why we're engaged. That's why Paula and I are happy to support this mission. I also think that the plans that have been developed are kind of driven by the Holy Spirit. I think there has been a spirit from God that has allowed us to look beyond ourselves and look to the future and look to the needs of people who will come long after us. Now, as Bruce has mentioned, we've had a leadership drive for the campaign that has already developed pledges for $681,000 that I hear. But as Pastor Sally mentioned, this is a whole church endeavor. This is a whole congregation job to move ahead and to finance and support the growth. And so we're going to be reaching out to everyone else who has not been part of the leadership group, and we're going to send out stewards to call on each family. And the stewards will bring along a booklet, and they will talk about all these changes and give you more information and leave that booklet with you. And we're also going to challenge each family to make a pledge to support the campaign, the capital campaign. That challenge will be to take a look at your finances and to pledge 3% of your income to supporting this campaign. By looking out, by the guidance from our consultant, he says that with the pre-pledges from the leadership group and with that kind of support from the rest of the congregation, we can make this happen. You and us all together can make this happen. And that's the way we're going to be doing it. So we're going to be asking every family to make a 3-year pledge. Take a look and see if you can do 3% of your income. And that pledging period then would end by the end of December of 2026. So we are going to ask everyone who has not already made a pledge for the capital campaign to prayerfully look at your finances and to prayerfully consider whether or not you're going to be able to help us reach our goal. Thank you. Carolyn?
So you can tell who's most nervous. That's the person with the most notes. I've rewritten them 3 times this morning, even while we were sitting here. And I'm not allowed to tell any jokes because my husband says I'm not funny. So my jokes stink. I do not tell jokes. So, but it's funny. I wrote down what I was going to say, and it's like Stu took my notes and read them. But I'm going to be speaking to you more specifically about the annual giving, because the Capital Funds campaign and the annual giving are going to be handled at the same time. So the packet he talked about will include that sort of thing. And it's going to sound like he read my notes, but my thank yous are going to be for you guys, because I look around and over the last how many years, I see all of you, doing dishes or teaching Sunday, I'm going to cry, or teaching Sunday school or participating in worship or, singing, or it's amazing how much you guys have given. And I just hope you understand how much we truly appreciate this. I mean, it makes me humbled to speak to you that I'm not worthy of speaking to all of you, because you're the best. So like I said, yes, we need the Capital Funds campaign, and we need these improvements, but we need these improvements because without them, it'll be difficult to continue with the growth that we've had in the worship and the programs, and at the same time, we have to continue to fund, the worship and the programs that we have so that we can, the annual budget takes care of the necessary things that we need to function as a church. I mean, some of it's not glamorous. Some of it is, the copier and paying for that sort of thing, or lawn care, or heating and cooling, that sort of stuff. But it also covers stuff like Vacation Bible School. I don't know if those of you who participated in Vacation Bible School, it was so inspiring and so much fun. I think it was equally as much fun for the adults as it was for the kids. We had a great time. I mean, the Seder meal, the Christmas decorating, music and more, youth group, Christian education. I mean, I could keep listing all the great things that this money goes towards, and I hate to see any of those things slip. So when we started this, the question was, why do you give? Why do I give? And it was quick and easy for me to come up with that. And it's because, if we go back to, we're inviting all to know Christ, to grow in Christ, and share in Christ's love. I get that here. And I want other people to be able to get that. And I think it's an exciting thing that we can share. So you guys are going to remember these handouts from previous years. As part of the annual giving, we're asking you to take a step up so we can continue our momentum, keep growing, keep building. So look at your step up, see where you are on the chart, and look at one step up and pray. Talk to your family. See if that's something that you think you can do. If you've already been contacted by someone for giving, we won't be contacting you again. Like he said, we're going to be handing out folders, though. There's going to be somebody who's going to be calling you, and they're going to want to give you this folder. And this folder has the pledge cards in there. So if you're wondering where the pledge cards are, they're in there. There's also a list of FAQs. And then if you haven't seen, hang on, I can't hold microphone and do this. But it shows things like the history of the church and specific pictures of the things that we want to improve. So I hope you welcome them with open hearts and open minds. See, hold on. Page 2 of the notes, hold on, there we are. And then what you do is you're going to get 2 pledge cards, one for annual giving, one for the Rejoice and Reach. And we'll ask you to fill those out and bring those back with you on October 1st. We're going to have another 10 o'clock combined worship. And we get to have another luncheon, but it's going to be at the Matterhorn. And at the Matterhorn, we'll announce what the pledges have added up to. So I just want to, and there's RSVP cards. If you haven't RSVP'd, even if you're going to have 0 people, please RSVP. You can contact the office or fill out a card or something like that. But I just want to say that we are truly thankful and truly grateful for whatever you can give. And if you feel like you decide you are not capable of giving to both, we ask that you give to the annual budget so we can continue to do things that that is growing this church. And I can't wait to see what God has planned, because like he said, I can see it. I can see God is saying, yep, this is right. This is good. We want this to happen. And I just thank you all for it. And Bill?
Thank you so much, Cheryl Ann, Stu, Bruce, Sally. And again, those who have helped put the brunch together and contributed was great. And it's just great getting together. Most importantly, thank you to each of you for being here and being with us and your support and your interest. I don't want this moment, this very second that we are in, I don't want to lose the symbolism of where we are right now in our history and what we're doing. This is a part of our history right now, and it's a big deal, and it's a big deal that you're right here with us, right in this room. And thank you, all of you, each one of you, for being here. We collectively can change the trajectory for the better of this church. It's already on a good path, and we can keep it going forward. So thank you for being here. And with that, Sally, a closing prayer, please.
Let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you for coming into our lives, for nurturing hope in us. We thank you for bringing us to this place, this good place. We thank you for the good people around the tables near us. We thank you for your multiple gifts. And so we go this day rejoicing at your goodness to us. Move in us to be your faithful people, for we are yours, and we would serve you well. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thanks for coming, everyone.